should know nothing but to obey his master. Sophia All stopped teaching Frederick, but he didn't stop learning. He took a book with him when he went out on errands. Poor white boys he met in the street helped him learn to read. When Frederick was about 12, he told the boys, "I am a slave for life." And he asked them, "Have not I as good a right to be free as you have?" Frederick read the Bible and went to church, Sabbath school for black children. When he was 14, he taught at the school. So he became a teacher at an early age. Yeah. In 1833, Frederick was sent to work for Thomas Hall, Hugh's brother. The next year, he was sent to work for Edward Colby, a poor farmer known to break the spirit of young slaves. Frederick worked hard. Even so, Colby beat him about once a week. Then, one summer morning, Frederick fought back. Colby never beat him again. The fight was the turning point in Frederick's life as a slave. "I was nothing before," he said later. "I was a man now." On January 1st, 1835, Frederick was sent to work for William Freeland. On Sundays, the slaves had no work, and Frederick opened a secret Sabbath school and taught slaves how to read. Frederick longed to be free. He and a few other slaves hoped to escape by boat, but someone told of their plans, and Frederick was put in jail. He expected to be sold to a slave owner in the Deep South to work in the cotton fields, a fate Frederick thought of as a slave, a life of living death. But instead, he was sent back to Baltimore to be a slave again. Frederick worked in the shipyard. Whatever he earned, he gave to his master. In Baltimore, Frederick met with many free African Americans, including Anna Murray. Together, they planned Frederick's escape from slavery. Frederick planned to travel north by train. Anna gave him the money he needed. A free African American sailor loaned Frederick papers to prove he was not a slave. Frederick rode 3 trains, 3 ferries, and a steamboat to New York City and freedom. Then, to make it difficult for slave catchers to find him, he changed his surname from Bailey to Johnson, and then to Douglas. So he changed his name quite a few times. Soon after Frederick arrived in New York, he sent for Anna Murray. They were married on September 15th and moved further north to Massachusetts. Frederick and Anna had 5 children: Rosetta, Louis, Frederick Jr., Charles, and Anna. In Massachusetts, Frederick worked loading and unloading ships, shoveling coal, and sweeping out chimneys. Frederick was pleased he didn't have to share his wages with the slave owner. About 4 months after he came to Massachusetts, Frederick began reading The Liberator, an anti-slavery newspaper. He wrote later, "My soul was set all on fire." In 1841, Frederick Douglass met the editor of the newspaper, William Lloyd Garrison. Garrison hired him to travel to other cities, talk about the horrors of slavery, and sell subscriptions to The Liberator. In 1845, his autobiography, The Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass, an American Slave, was published. In the book, he wrote his original name, Frederick Bailey, and the name of his master. This put Frederick in danger of being caught as a runaway slave. So he went to England. He gave speeches there too about the evils of slavery. Frederick Douglass believed that people are not property to be owned by other people. But still, in Baltimore, the Alls helped papers proving that they did own him. Some friends in England bought those papers, and his freedom, now he could go home. Frederick Douglass returned to the United States in 1847. He moved to Rochester, New York, and started his own anti-slavery newspaper, the North Star. Later, it was renamed Frederick Douglass Paper. Frederick spoke out against the racial prejudice we found in the northern states. He spoke out for women's rights. His house became a stop on the Underground Railroad, a series of safe houses for runaway slaves on their way further north to freedom. On April 12, 1861, the 4-year-long Civil War between the Northern Union Army and the Southern Confederate Army began. It was the war that ended slavery in the United States. In 1863, Frederick Douglass helped gather soldiers for the first black unit in the Union Army. 3 of his sons joined, but Frederick Douglass soon learned that black soldiers were paid much less than whites and were given poor equipment and little training. He told this to President Lincoln. The president told Frederick Douglass to be patient. Progress in the rights of African Americans will come slowly. 8 months after the Confederate Army was defeated, the 13th Amendment to the United States Constitution was passed. Slavery was outlawed. In 1864, Abraham Lincoln was re-elected president. In March 1865, after the inauguration, Frederick Douglass went to the White House to shake the president's hand. At first, he was not allowed in because he was African American. President Lincoln had him show in, and as he entered the hall, the president said, "Here comes my friend Douglass." Several weeks later, on April 14th, President Lincoln was shot. He died the next day. Wow. Frederick Douglass wrote 2 more books about his life, My Bondage and My Freedom, published in 1855. And in 1877, he was named Marshal, and in 1881, Recorder of Deeds for Washington, D.C. In 1889, he was named Consul General to Haiti. In 1882, Anna Douglass died. 2 years later, Frederick married Helen Pitts, a white woman. Both blacks and whites were upset by the marriage. Helen Pitts told people that she had married a man she loved. Frederick Douglass told people that his first wife was black, like his mother. His second wife was white, like his father. During his last years, Frederick Douglass spoke out against the mob violence and lynchings of African Americans in the South. He wrote that every Southern breeze was tainted and freighted with Negro blood. Frederick Douglass had helped lead the struggle to end slavery. He had hoped to see blacks and whites throughout the United States living together in peace. He never did. On February 20th, 1895, after attending a meeting on women's rights, Frederick had a heart attack and he died. He was 77 years old. 77. 77 years old. He had a heart attack.
That was so long.
A heart attack is
When your heart stops working.
when your heart stops pumping blood to the body.
So did you like the story?
Did you like the story?
Thank you. were doing so good. You were listening. I heard it.
So Frederick Douglass was a slave in New till he finally escaped slavery.
Your mom had a heart attack.
Oh, his grandma had a heart attack?
Hey, you coming back next time? That was long. That was so long. Yeah, that was so long.
Yes.
Now, hold on. And it wasn't little.
Okay.
If you have to, please, let me see. Crisscross applesauce, eyes are looking, ears are listening. If you have a question, you raise your hand. No. Shh.
Question.
Okay. If it was little, how can we long? If it was little, how can we long?
If what was little?
That book.
Oh, because it
Oh,
falls
it's a
in
small
half.
book and how was a long story? That's the question. Because it has a lot of
And
words.
it has pages.
I have a book too.
You have a book? Let me see. It's a cartoon book. Dog, man, and cat. Did you read it? You not finished?
But he can read it, yes. Robert, if you have a question, I want you to go to a spot and raise your hand. Have a seat
That
and
book
raise
is
your
much
hand.
longer?
He
Yeah.
died
of a heart attack. Who knows how a heart attack comes
His book is more bigger than you. It's not now. I can buy my here, look.
has more pages. Any more questions? Did you like the story? Yeah.
Yes.
Did you like the story?
We have better.
Did you like it?
I have
Excellent reading. They were listening. They're so quiet.
I like
You listened to the story, I saw
Me
you.
too.
Good
I'm
for
glad
you.
you
Have
like
a
it.
seat.
This is my visitor's bag.
I can buy it.
Okay.
Thank you.
My grandpa can take off.
Say thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, my dear. And he does another story.
I'll come back again. I'll come back again.
Oh.
Where do I live? I live in Richmond Heights. You live in Miami, Florida?
I live in Miami,
And Georgia?
I live in Georgia, real.
You moved from Georgia. You used to live there. Yes, I'm Georgia.
You live in Las Vegas and
I live
Houston?
in Miami, Florida.
48 years old.
Oh, my God. 35. Listen.
Oh, I live in Miami also. My birthday is in August.
No, on your part. Bell is ringing.
You didn't know.